back to Fantasy Turf War, the show where 64 teams go head-to-head to see who's the ultimate champion. I am, of course, Commissioner Cory, and welcome back this Tuesday morning. I'm supposed to have an episode out for you today, or yesterday, excuse me, and it was my birthday, and so I was running a little bit behind schedule, and it was actually supposed to be a two-parter. It is Shelter Dogs for Veterans interview, and they have a volunteer playing for them whose name is Cameron Bassett, who happens to be my dad. And so we get into why he's playing for them and all that they do. Shelter Dogs for Veterans, they do exactly that. They take shelter dogs, they partner them with veterans, they train them up to be fully qualified service dogs, and provide them to the veteran for whatever services or alerts that they need to be able to do. No cost to the veteran. It's a nonprofit organization, and we'll talk about ways that we're going to try and help them out throughout the season as our nonprofit. And it's a good interview. It's a deep dive. Maybe bring some tissues. We cover a lot with Miss Sharon. Miss Sharon's she's a real sweetheart. She's done a lot for me and my family, and I'm glad to be able to include her in this opportunity to play fantasy football, although via proxy with a volunteer. They just don't have the bandwidth. And it's a good interview. I think you'll like it. I hope you all enjoy this one.
Good afternoon, Miss Sharon. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm great, and it's great to see you. It's been a little while, but I'm glad you're doing well. And looks like you have some beautiful pups in the background and stuff. So it's always fun seeing the puppies. But
yes, it is.
Yeah. And I wanted to thank you for all of your help that you've given me over the past few years, especially when I was getting out of the military. And we've had a lot of work to do, and I still have a lot of work to do. But you've been there the whole way, and I really appreciate it. So before we get too far into the rabbit hole, I just wanted to make sure I said thank you for everything so far. And it's my turn to try and do something for you now. So I just wanted to say that before we started. Don't cry. All right. All right. So
I want to say thank you to you for your service, because it's why I do what I do.
Yeah, and that's a good segue, right? So
Yep.
It's a good way to start the day is to talk about Shelter Dogs for Veterans, and what was your motivation behind it? Where you guys got your start, how you got your start. Like, it's a whole compound over there of stuff going on. So walk us through the journey a little bit. Where did we come from, and then some interesting stories or something like that.
Well, how did it get started? It started over 40 years ago, actually, for me. My family is law enforcement, also ex-military or military veterans. And I always wanted to either help the law enforcement or with the veterans. And so I started training dogs, like I said, about 40 years ago. And I hate to say that, but that's how old I am.
40. Got it. See, that's great. It's a great number.
I never thought of that. Yeah. So that was kind of where it very first started. And then I started seeing things, about our military, and I didn't like the way things were going with our government, and I felt they weren't providing enough help, with the veterans. And I knew dogs help veterans. And, I kept hearing this over and over. Oh, well, we don't know that it helps them, blah, blah, blah. And so I thought, oh, no, I know it works. I've seen it work.
Yeah.
And so I went back to school, and I studied positive reward-based training, because back years ago, we used an old school technique of training, which we call old school now. And it was not a nice way to train. Let's just put it that way. So that's kind of how that everything kind of progressed. Once I got certified in positive reward-based training, my goal was, the next thing was to open a nonprofit so that I could help train shelter dogs. I wanted to do shelter dogs. I mean, not that I have anything against full-bred dogs, because dogs are wonderful, but we euthanize so many dogs in our country. And I knew that shelter dogs were just as good as any purebred, or these dogs they're breeding to train as service dogs. And so I figured, okay, I can help a veteran and I can help a shelter dog. And so that's where it began. That was in January of 2015 when I opened Shelter Dogs for Veterans. At this time, I've been the only trainer for it because we're small, but I want to grow. And I have one of my veterans that we just certified his dog as through the public access test. It is now his service dog, and he wants to train with me. And that's my goal, is to have other veterans learn to do this so that they will be working with the veterans, helping them, and showing them what it did for them. And now it's going to help, them. Because I think veterans helping veterans doing this is really ideal, because you all know what that veteran feels. And I'm not a veteran. Yes, I've lived with veterans, and police officers. And so I know what you go through in that sense, but I can't feel it like another veteran can. I think it's easier for a veteran to speak to that other veteran too, than it is to talk to me. I have men and women veterans that I work with. I also, Shelter Dogs for Veterans now, we work with first responders as well. So I have right now a gentleman, I've had a police officer, I have a gentleman right now that is an EMT. So, that's it. And I'm saving dogs. So that was the whole goal.
Yeah, and I think that's so with my story, right? And I'll be very limited because this isn't about me, but how I kind of came about discovering you is I had been retired from the military medically, and my doctors had recommended looking at some sort of service dog. And so you look at different organizations, and each one has its own process and things to go through. And then I had started with a couple of other ones down like the paperwork trail, and it wasn't working out. And then I don't know if it was just a Google search or a Facebook search or just what, and I reached out, and not long after that, I had started down this journey. So it's what you guys are doing is amazing work. I can't speak highly enough of what you guys do with the veterans, but not only that, right? Because you're not solving one problem, you're solving two problems, and you're solving them for generations, right? So you're saving a dog from being potentially euthanized, which I see all the time online of the shelters are overrun, you've got to adopt Sparky, otherwise we're going to have to make a decision. And I hate seeing that, and I just wish there was a way to just grab all of them and give them big hugs and take them somewhere to where like you guys are working at, but you guys have a bandwidth as well, and so it's like there's only so much you can do, and it's heartbreaking just to see, like, you'd hope that no dog ever has to go down that road, but you guys are doing everything you can to give them a second chance. And I think that's great for the dogs, and a second chance for the vets, because with what you've done with me, I have she's eating now, but I have Bo-Katan and Bobo, or Bo, and she's a big teddy bear. She thinks she's a little teddy bear, but she's not. She's a weighted, heated blanket, and it's made just a huge difference in my life, to where I've been able to kind of make better choices, stay away from some bad choices, and kind of right the ship. And that's only possible because of the work that you guys do over there. And so that's me, and that doesn't just affect me and Bo, that affects me, Bo, my family, which and then affects my parents, my kids, and then generationally that'll have impacts for years and years and years. And that can't be spoken highly of enough, that you guys need and there's someone trying to join us. He's like, I want
Yeah.
attention too.
This is my service dog that I'm working with. And I'll show you real quick. This is Aries.
Hi.
She, again, came from the shelter. And she's a wonderful dog. And she's still in training right now. But she also does demonstrations. So that's her other purpose. She's not only my service dog. I have PTSD. But she's being trained actually for diabetes. So,
very cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
So, talking about what you were saying about how it's helped you and your family, because this is a process that the whole family has to get involved with it, and it's very life-changing for all of you. I know that. And the story you just told me of you is the story I hear with every veteran. Yes, each of you deal with a little different thing, but it's really all in the same, that the dog saved you. It saved marriages, it saved, it saves lives. I had a veteran one time that came to me and told me, had it not been for his dog, twice he would have committed suicide, but the dog stopped. I have a couple veterans right now that I'm working with that said they were not able to, sorry, my clock chirps. So we have birds in the background. They were not able to leave their home. It's a husband and wife veterans. They were not able to leave their house. They just went to a Trump rally. Wow. So that was major, because they couldn't do that before.
Yep. And I can definitely relate too, because I know what problems I've had with crowds before, and the idea of going from not being able to leave my house to a giant crowd, no matter where you're at, is a very big deal. So I totally get it.
And they said they couldn't believe it, that they were able to do it. But it's the process and the dog. Having that dog, helps you get back to where you were. Hopefully, maybe not all the way. And for some, they say, yeah, it's like that I'm back. But it helps the family too.
Yep.
And that's the important thing, because that's your support system. And if it helps them as well as you, it helps everybody. So.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm trying not to cry. I think I'm gonna.
If you cry, I'll cry.
Oh, well, I can't do that then. So I'll ruin it with a bad joke. And so we talked about it before, and it's like,
I love that.
Bo is the absolute perfect dog. She fits beautifully within our family, and the only thing I ever have to say that's bad about her are her farts, and they are horrible. So
yes, well, that kind of comes along with a dog.
Look, if that's it,
Yeah,
she doesn't complain about mine. Well, she probably does, but I won't complain about hers. We all have flaws, right? I guess if that's the only one she has, then it's something I'll have to live with. But I do like the winters when the heated weighted blanket is just laying on top of me. It's pretty cozy, so I like that. But
excellent.
Yeah, she's a great dog, and we'll cover him too, because I know they're gonna watch. We had actually just a side story of trying to make things right with puppies and people, is that we had a service dog that we had tried out. His name was Buddy, and he has a special story to go with him as well. And he had came into my possession from you, and it had ultimately didn't work out. Sometimes it just doesn't. And so we had found a home for him with one of my family members, and he is living a happy life, eating treats and hanging out and laying around with cats. And yeah, he's being great. So he is also being well taken care of. So it's in the same vein of, maybe, with what happened to Buddy, he needed a second chance too. And that meant that sometimes, might have had to switch houses, but it ultimately worked. And it's been a few years now, I think, right? So it's, he's loving it.
It's been several, yeah. And
So.
that is wonderful news. And again, you, as you know, with Buddy, he was already a service dog.
Yep.
And his veteran passed away in a tragic accident. But he was wonderful with his veteran that he was with.
Yep.
But I think the trauma of what he went through caused him, problems, and that was where you ran into problems with him. And I had no idea, that was the case, because he went from that situation then right to you.
Yeah.
And but even dogs that we first train, you never totally know. At the end of the day, they're dogs.
Right.
And you can do everything you can, but they have their personality too. And they do have emotions. They suffer grief, happiness, joy, all the things like that we do. And you just never know sometimes when something, like that happens for them, that it can affect them that way.
Yep.
Talking about that, my very first service dog for myself that I used for demonstrations, he passed away of cancer. But we had a serious car accident, and he actually got PTSD.
Oh, wow.
So I had to retire him because of it. So again, they're a lot like humans in that sense. They still experience, things, and it affects them. So he's remained my pet until he passed away. But, again, I understand, with that, the situation you had.
Yep. Yeah. And it was a hectic time for him. Like, there was a lot going on, and, it was not the right fit for him. And so we found it somewhere where he was going to be happy. And,
thanks to you, we did.
Yep. Yeah. And yeah, of course. And I would never, we would never go down a road where, we would, basically be on the euthanasia line. That was never a possibility for us. It was going to be, he's going to end up somewhere. And it just turned out that he was a perfect fit with one of my relatives. And the dog's spoiled. I make feel sad for him. I do, of course, because it was a horrible thing that he had to go through. But he has been made up for with some treats and loving. And we just saw him not too long ago, and he's doing great.
I'm so glad. That
Yep.
brings me to tears for sure.
Well, don't cry, because then I have to cry. All right, so let's shift a little bit. So I wanted to cover some of the fun side of this, right? Because it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, because you're training a dog and it works, and it listens. When the training works and it clicks and they follow the commands, it's like, holy cow, this is a thing.
Yes.
And so tell me, like, what's like the biggest reward and what's the biggest challenge of training dogs?
I just love dogs. So to me, it's the best job in the world. And I love veterans. I am so grateful every day of my life that I live in a free country because of veterans. And people forget that. So when watching someone like you be able to get back into your life, that does it for me. That gives me such joy. I can't put it in any other words. And with dogs, watching it start to click between the veteran and their dog, it's just so heartwarming. Because I see that veteran saying, oh, I saw he did that. And then the dog's, yay, I'm happy. You did, I pleased you. And it's just such a cohesive thing. And, that's my joy. I know when I pass away, I have done something good, for other people. And I'm always been one to want to give to people. So that is, that is why I do what I do. And that is the joy for me. I have never found a dog you couldn't train. It's just, they may not be able to be a service dog, but,
There's Bo.
oh, yeah, we have to see Bo.
I'll make sure I put her in later. But...
yeah, he definitely has to be in this because he is part of this story.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, we didn't talk a lot about the program and how it works with us.
Sure.
Because there are different programs out there for training service dogs. Many of them breed the dogs and train them.
Yep.
And then the veteran goes for a crash course for 48 hours or whatever to learn the behaviors and the cues that the dog knows. I found doing that just was very hard for veterans because number one, that dog has bonded with that trainer.
Yep.
Now you have to build that bond, and it may not be there. I have worked with a lot of veterans that have come out of a program, and it just wasn't working with them and their dog, and so they came to me to see if I could help. And so we were able to work with the dogs and get a better cohesive thing for them. But I found it was much easier to start with me interviewing the veteran, finding out what they liked, what kind of dog might be good fit for them, and for their behaviors and that kind of thing. And like the things you like to do, what are your needs and your disability? So how I do it, or how our program works, is that I have the interview with you, I get as much information as I can, then I look for a dog in one of the shelters. I have you look, if you find one you might like, I still have to meet that dog.
Right.
Because I do a very big assessment on that dog to make sure that dog can handle what we're going to do. Because every dog isn't a service dog. And again, I can't guarantee that dog will make it through the program.
Right.
But I've been pretty fortunate in the dogs I have picked, of them making it through the program. So then what we do is once I find that dog, I find 2 or 3 that I think will work, and I have the veteran go and meet those dogs. And I can tell that first greeting if it's even there's gonna be something there between them. And so then they will take their dog home for 2 weeks and bond. I have that dog tied to them for 2 weeks.
I remember that.
Yep. So then we start training, and we meet once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on the location where you're located. And in your situation, we did the first part virtually.
We did. It was right in the middle of COVID. So.
Yep. So, that's how we did it. And it worked.
Yep.
It's more challenging when we're doing it virtually. Challenging for you, and everything. And it's challenging for me because I'm not hands-on at that point. But, we did it through Zoom, and I was able to see what was, the behaviors and things, and see how you were doing it. So it obviously worked because it's working for you. I've done that with a couple, veterans. Most of my veterans are here or fairly close to me where they can come. But I don't have a problem doing it virtually if that, we need to.
Yeah.
And so, that's how the process works for us. And I found that doing that, there was right off the bat, there was that bonding.
Yep.
They were bonding with you, not me. And you were learning at the time how to do whatever you had to do. You didn't have to come for a crash course. And so we dealt with the problems right then instead of you trying to deal with them and then have to find somebody to help you.
Yep.
So it's been very successful doing it this way.
Yep. And I remember where I was when that connection happened with Bo and I. So we were doing one of the training sessions of like, well, so one, the bonding thing, she was tied to me for 2 weeks, almost literally. But
Yep.
we disconnected every once in a while, but we were pretty much tied together, for 2 weeks. But I remember when we were training, we were sitting, we were doing the Zoom call and we were sitting in my office at the time. And I forget, it was the laying down and like sitting back up, and so she had done it, and we had been working on it for a couple weeks, and so she had finally done it, and like we locked eyes, and it's like, oh, we understand each other now. It's like, I get it. And so it's like the whole thing unlocks, and I remember that moment. So yeah,
And that's a good story because that's what happens. And from that point forward, I'm sure you could look at her and know she's got it or she doesn't have it. And you could try other things to get to where you're going with each cue.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so that's the plus side. What would be so would the challenge then be having to train virtually, or is there something you'd think is a bigger challenge?
Honestly, my biggest challenge is getting veterans to continue to keep their appointments.
Uh-oh. This is the guilt. I feel heat.
Nope. Happens. But no, and you're not alone. Because you're dealing with PTSD, you're dealing with TBI, you're dealing with a lot of things in your life and everything. This is just one more thing.
Yeah.
But the commitment to do it and that it'll help you. The thing is I understand with the veterans that, sometimes because you want to withdraw, that is part of PTSD. You don't want to have anything focused on you. But that is the thing with the dog. The dog helps bring that back out. But honestly, the biggest frustration for me is veterans not keeping their appointments or not continuing with the training.
Yeah, I am guilty of this, and I'm sorry. But it is a very good point, right? And so I don't think we've ever really fully talked about this. We've had a couple exchanges about it, but it's a very good point to bring up because I'm probably not alone, right? And so there's this thing out there.
Not.
It's called imposter syndrome, right? It's like I'm not good enough. I'm not who people think I am, kind of thing. A lot of what contributed to me getting retired, and I actually don't know how much of this I've shared with people, but let's go there. A lot of what got me retired was this giant self-doubt that weighed over my head of, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I'm not going to make it. Anything like that, to the point where I would shut down. I would not make decisions whatsoever. The one of the big stories was that we were, turning into traffic, or trying to turn into traffic, and there's, it's stop signs. You got traffic both ways, and you've got little ones in the back, and just there's so much going on that I was just like, I can't do this, and I just shut down. And that's what was part of the reason why I was retired. Is that it's a big deal. And you don't really know why. Your body just says, we're not doing this today. Doesn't matter what you can positive talk your way out of it. It's not happening. So,
Yep.
And a lot of what happened in our training is that we had started down the road with Bo, and we'd made some really good progress. And then the doubt came back, and it's like, I can't do this. Like, I'm not going to pass the test. Like, I'm not going to, like, it just, like, test anxiety with imposter syndrome, with like a guilt of disappointment. Like, I don't want to disappoint somebody because I failed. And so I shut down. And I think it got to a point where you reach out to my wife and it's like, hey, he's not answering. What's going on with him? And she had responded, and I reached back out, and I just leveled. I was like, I have no idea why I'm doing this, but like I don't want to let people down. I don't want to let you down because we had spent so much time. I didn't want to let myself down and my family down because now we have a, there's a dog in the house and like that, it means something too, right? And and it made a big difference. As just putting it out there that like it's okay to fail, and I know
It is.
and I've still got to get back on the horse, right? So like I know that's still something I've got to do, but it's just that constant fear of failure.
But
It's real.
you didn't fail. Okay. Um, and that's what I try to instill in all my veterans is baby steps. This is baby steps. And the only failure is if you don't do it, if you don't put yourself out there and try. That's the failure. And so, but I tell them all it's baby steps. I'll go at your pace. And you're right. You are not the only one. I have several that I go through this with, but it's part of it. It's part of the disability. And nothing irks me more than to go into public and have somebody say to one of my veterans, "Why do you have a dog?" They have no clue what you're going through, and I'll get right in their face for your defense every time because they haven't a clue. And so I don't ever want you to feel bad. The fact is you've reached back out. That is very good. That is not a failure. Okay. You just needed time.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell every one of my veterans, just so I know. Just keep me informed. Okay. I just can't do this right now. I'm here for you. And I'm always here for my veterans. Okay. So, you're not a failure. You're anything but a failure. The fact you got a dog, that's a big one. And you didn't get rid of the dog. So if you put it in that perspective, there's nothing you've done as a failure. And so I think too, that's why I told you I like having other veterans, and that's what I'm working towards, is having other veterans work with me, helping me train, because they can understand, and that makes it easy, I think, easier for you because they're sharing the same feeling. And they can say to you, no, you're not a failure. This is what you got to do, and blah, 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 and I think it helps you more than what I can do. Even though I have PTSD, mine doesn't come from serving in war and all that you all have been through. So I can't relate on that level because, people have PTSD for different reasons, but the trauma that you suffer from war and what you've seen is nothing compared to what I may have gone through. So where another veteran can really understand, what you're going through.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah. But you asked me that what is my biggest challenge?
I know it's my fault. I asked, and now I'm trying not to cry again.
You opened up that can of worms.
I sure did. Man, that door is wide open now. I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. So this is obviously it's a nonprofit company, right? So it relies on the donations of generous donors and your efforts to keep the lights on, keep everything running, right? So with that, you've been able to do a number of fundraisers over the years. Can you tell us
Yes.
what kind of fundraisers have you guys done before?
We did a little bit of everything. I swear. We've done raffles. We have done photos with Santa Claus, with people and their dogs. I'm trying to think all the things we've done. We had one person that did artwork of people and their dog, or did art of their dog.
Oh, cool.
We've done a kissing booth. I had a little dog, a little pit bull of all dogs, and you know how the public is about pit bulls. Well, she was the best kisser. When we did one fundraiser with her, she did 70 kisses in 1 hour. She was the lickingest dog I've ever seen. But it could also help people's, the representation of pit bulls and how they really are a friendly dog.
Yep.
What else have we done? We did one actually last night. It was at a Legion, and it was the bikers of the Legion, and they've done one for us before where they did a ride and raised donations on how far they went and that kind of thing. Last night, the raffle, they had a 50-50 raffle, and then we were there with some of the service dogs. The veterans were there with their dogs. I did one time where I gave a little bit of training to the public.
Oh, cool.
And for donations. So, we've done a little bit of everything out there. I can't remember all of them because we've been doing this since 2015. And, well, like I told you, I've been doing this for 40 years. So this isn't as good as it used to be in remembering everything.
No, that's awesome.
So,
And it's great to see that it's not just you putting in the work, but it's your community that's also supporting you guys in this effort, because it takes a team. And so with that, I want to make sure, people will have direct links to your website where they can make donations monetarily or otherwise. And then what we're going to do at the show is we're going to make sure that we're constantly campaigning on your behalf to promote your guys' products, and then we're going to donate a portion of our proceeds from the operation costs. We're going to give that to you as well, so that you can hopefully, whatever little amount that is towards the end of the year, we're going to make sure that we can give that back to you, because I know not only have you trained so many dogs, but you've also had some very unfortunate circumstances where your training facility was destroyed in a fire not very long ago. And so that is not an easy thing for a nonprofit to recover from, but here you are and you're still doing it, and I think that should be commended and supported. And I want to make sure that you have everything you need to continue doing the same thing that you did for me, for all the other veterans that need it. And I would much rather see an organization like yourself thriving with the way you do it with the shelter dogs, and pairing them with the vets, and then mandatorily bonding them for 14 days, and going through that route. Then hand us a check, we'll hand you a dog. It's like that's not how it should work. And I'm glad that you guys are doing it what I feel is the right way, and it's had huge impacts on me and my family, and we all thank you for that. So it's our turn to take care of you too. So
well, I got me in tears, so I'm trying to keep it together here.
I can have Bo fart for you. That'll get rid of it.
Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. One other thing I wanted to say was that we didn't touch on was that with the veterans, when they get their dogs, we pay to have them spayed and neutered. They're provided with all their vaccinations and everything. We try to give you food. We try to give, we'll even take donations like food bowls, leashes, collars, harnesses, things like that, because we give all that to our veterans when we give them the dog, because I don't want them to have to start with nothing.
Right.
Because a lot of our veterans are not wealthy. They're struggling. And so, we give them their first month of heartworm and flea medication for their dog, everything. We make sure the dog is healthy, that gets a vet visit, all of that. Yep. So, and all of this is provided for the dog, for the veteran and the dog, free of charge. We do not charge you. Everything comes from donations. And I will tell you, I've done a lot of things that we didn't have didn't have the donations, but I did it from me because, it's the right thing. And it was my way again to give back to the veterans for what you've done, for us as Americans.
Well, it's our turn to take care of you. So where can we send, like, what's the best way if I wanted to donate supplies, whether it be dog food or leashes, bowls, you name it. If it's not a monetary donation, what's the best way people can send gifts like that?
They can, I think on Amazon, they have a thing where you can donate to, a registry or whatever. I'm not sure. Walmart might even have something going on. I was going to check into it, but they can mail them. They can ship them to us here at our facility. And you want me to give you the address and all that right now?
Well, what we'll do is we'll connect with everything, and then what I want to make sure we do is we have the most direct link to make it easy for people who want to donate something, whether it be time, money, resources, cuddles with the dogs. I'll volunteer for that all day. We'll make sure that the most direct source is linked up in all the show notes and on our website so that people can go straight to it, and then we'll find some way to tag it so that we can see if it's actually benefiting you at all, because I want to make sure that like what we're doing is actually working. Otherwise I want to keep pushing on that so that we can get some sort of outcome for you. So we'll take care of that, and we'll make sure that it's all set up.
You can also go to our website if you want to make a monetary donation. Yep. You can mail a check. We take any kind of credit card, debit card, so there's lots of ways to donate to us. We are linked to a lot of like United Fund, a lot of guiding, I think it's called Guiding Star or something like that, but there's a lot of organizations like that where you can go and donate. I know a lot of companies also have where you can donate to different organizations and you can donate to us.
Okay.
But usually the easiest thing to do is just go to our website. There's a donate button and make your donation.
Yep. And
it comes directly.
And that's what we'll advocate for too, is that I want to make sure the monetary stuff will go straight to your website so that we're just not the middleman in that stuff. But then we'll make sure that we have the right links to send, whether it's like an Amazon shopping cart wish list kind of thing over to you as well. And then if nothing else, then we'll just rally a bunch of supplies and show up at your doorstep. So.
Oh, and volunteers, we're always grateful to have volunteers, because the more volunteers we have, the more fundraisers we can do and have the help, because for a while there was like 3 of us was all there was doing these fundraisers, and it's hard for me to train and do fundraisers and right. Everything. So it was really challenging, and one of our volunteers is in a wheelchair, so it was really challenging. But now a lot of the veterans are starting to help with their families, and that has been very, very helpful.
Yep. And I know actually our host of the show, her name is Lauren. She's out of Atlanta, so I know she's not too far from you. So I think we might try and put something together for that. So
that's great.
So we'll stay in touch.
Another dog that I worked with training. I volunteer for Pets for Vets as well. I guess I should throw that out there. I also volunteer for Train a Dog, Save a Warrior. That's another organization. So, and it's just for Georgia that I do it. But I worked with her in Pets for Vets, and she lives in Atlanta, so she volunteers with us now. She's no longer with Pets for Vets.
Oh, wow.
She does volunteer with us, and she's been a great help. That was another thing we did to raise money. She made dog biscuits out of spent grain from the breweries.
Huh.
And it made the best dog biscuits you've ever seen. The dogs went nuts over them. So we had fun with that too.
I thought you were about to say the best you've ever tasted. I was like, I don't think those were meant for you, but okay.
I actually tasted them. They were pretty tasty.
All right.
you know, I figure if it's good enough for my dog, it's good enough for me.
It's a good point. Very good point.
But they were very healthy. They were made out of pumpkin and carrots and things like that. So, you know.
Well, that does sound pretty good, actually.
Yeah, but that did really well as well. So as you see, there's all kinds of things. I am always open also to ideas of people's ideas. What would you like to see us do to fundraise, or do you want to, you know, participate and do something?
It's
so,
like, you know, like, hey, do you want us to represent you in a 64 team fantasy football league on YouTube?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You know, everything, anything, nothing's out of the question. We raffled off an AR-15.
All right.
That was one of our best fundraisers, to be honest with you. So, you know, all kinds of things like that. So, at first, I kind of, with the AR-15, I said, I don't know if we want to do that because, you know, there's a big suicide rate among veterans. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. There's some of the best shooters.
Yeah.
You know, and they like to go out and shoot and everything. So that's why we went ahead and did it. So, yeah, we've had all kinds of things, but yeah, that's the easiest thing to do for, you know, go to our website, make a donation, or mail us anything you want, or bring it to our house, whatever you want to do.
Sounds good. All right. So let's see. I think we've covered just about everything. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we called it?
I want to see Bo.
Let me see if I can grab her real quick. Hang on. Come here, Bo.
There's that pretty girl. She's really grown. What a beautiful dog. Oh, she is beautiful. She's Dad's girl, isn't she?
Oh, yeah. Definitely is.
I'm sure everybody wanted to see her because we've talked about her in the interview.
Yep, and I'll make sure when I do the intro, I'll put her in there as well. So she'll be all over this one.
There you go.
She's never gonna let me stop petting her now.
Well, that's all right. That's what they're for. Yeah, mine are the same, but you know what? They've proved it is a very calming thing. Lowers your blood pressure and all that. So, and it lowers hers. She's such a pretty girl.
All right. Well, I will get to editing this. Like I said, it's going to air on Monday. Monday's my birthday, so I'm going to do this as my birthday episode.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
You're going to be 29, right?
Yes. Yes, I am.